Hello, everyone, and welcome to a Thursday edition of the Orange and Brown Talk podcast. Dan Labbe with Mary Kay Cabot, and we are going to do a Hey Mary Kay edition of the podcast. All these questions coming from our Football Insider subscribers. cleveland.com/Browns, the blue banner at the top of the page to get involved in that. Let's get right to it. Got a lot of questions in. Mickey from Florida leads us off. Hey Mary Kay, couldn't playing so many divisional games early be advantageous for the Browns with a yet-to-be-seen new offensive scheme and a revamped defense?
It could go either way. They could either be not 100% ready for prime time in those first 4 weeks of the season, or it could work to their advantage, as our wonderful subscriber just mentioned about the fact that nobody really knows exactly what they're going to do, exactly what they're going to look like, how to defend it, who's going to be where. There's just not going to be that much film on them yet. But, when you look over to Baltimore too, it's going to be very similar with them as well. Who knows what Todd Monken has in store for those guys over there. So at least when you're talking about the Ravens, it'll be about 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, of both teams wondering what the other team is going to offer. So it could go either way, but I think the Browns are going to have to really, for the most part, just focus on themselves for these games and make sure that they're as ready as they possibly can be, and not try to get, too fancy with what they're trying to do. I think they need to, in the early going, for the most part, stick with the basics, with probably some gadget plays thrown in. I think Deshaun Watson should, go for the jugular a few times and try to hit that deep ball maybe early on. But for the most part, I think that they're going to have to really do the things that they do well and know exactly what those things are heading in.
Yeah, I thought it was an interesting question because what we always talk about in division games is how well these teams know each other. So it sometimes negates some scheme advantages. And like the Browns know the Baltimore Ravens, but like you said, their offense is going to look different this year, and the Browns, their offense is going to look different. I also wonder if it could be an advantage to get these teams early because there's no guarantee that these other teams are going to necessarily come out of the gate hot. The Bengals last year went 12-4, but they started the year 2-3. Pittsburgh last year, it took them a little while to get going. Of course, they changed quarterbacks in the middle of the season, but they won one. I got to do the math here. 1, 2, 3, 4. They started 1-4. So it's not unheard of for like the Bengals and the Steelers, even in good years, to start slow. So it is going to be really interesting to see how these division games play out, and maybe it does end up being an advantage for the Browns to get these games early.
Yeah, I mean, we won't know until we actually see it play out. But, like I said, I think it can go either way. But it's almost going to be like preseason in those first 4 weeks because, the Browns don't know, who exactly is going to be the best at, that for Deshaun Watson to throw the ball to on his scramble drill, who's going to be where. On the defensive side of the ball, Jim Schwartz is going to be figuring out, okay, can I really have Denzel inside in these situations? How do I want to roll the defensive linemen in and out? So, I mean, it's going to be the preseason almost in those first 4 games, in part because, Kevin Stefanski isn't going to really play his veterans all that much in the preseason, probably a little bit more than he did last year because he has an extra game and he knows he has to be ready early on. But still, the goal for the most part is going to be to get everybody to the starting blocks really healthy. So I don't think there's going to be a whole ton of Deshaun Watson, just exposed to getting hit in those preseason games. So yeah, this is really something. I think, it could be you hate to say make or break in the first 4 weeks of the season, but it's a very, very pivotal stretch.
There is a slight advantage there too.